you know, our administration has obviously made it clear that that's not the stance and what we want from the volunteer spirit. You know that I feel the same way. That's a very few number. Man, the passion, energy from our fan base. I've been in a lot of competitive arenas as a player and as a coach. There was nothing better that I've ever been in than what happened on Saturday night.
99% of the people in this world want to be great. Would you agree with that? Yeah, they're called wannabes. 1% work to be great. Drop the mic on that.
It was very casual. We were just kind of walking off the field, and he was like, "So what you gonna do?" I said, "I'm gonna come back next year." He was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, I'm excited. Let's go to Atlanta." And I was like, "Yes, sir. Let's make it happen."
Yeah, I didn't sign any mustard bottles or golf balls. Maybe wish I had a golf ball that night, you know what I mean? But I'm only kidding. All right.
Welcome to the Talkin VAWLS Network. My name is Boogie Bentley, joined by my good friend Gabriel Isaac. What's up, Gabriel? Good Monday morning.
Good morning. It is nice and early and chilly down here in Texas for the first time in a while. So awake and ready to go.
I love that it's finally feels like fall, but it happens so fast. It's like it goes from a couple of times in the morning, it feels nice and cool, crisp air, and then all of a sudden it's freezing, it's snowing, and we're all wearing winter coats. I like fall. It's my favorite season. It seems like everything shifted too. Used to be football was fall. Now it's like the opening month of football is 95-degree weather.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I wish it would that the mild fall weather would last a little longer, because I don't want to, with how hot it's been down here this summer, I do not want it to just cut straight to winter, but I guess we'll find out.
I'm ready to jump into it and talk about LSU, man. It's game week. It's that bye week. It seems so early in the season, but at the same time, I think it came at a good time for Tennessee, give them an opportunity to rest up, get healthy, and prepare for LSU. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the Tennessee-LSU matchup. We're going to talk about the scores around the SEC. You know, it's something I started doing this year is making the videos about emotional reactions, and the reason I did that because week one, all of a sudden, everybody is placing wins and losses on every game on the schedule based on one football game. But then I kind of looked at it and I was like, you know, they do that every single week. If Florida struggles, that's a win. If Georgia struggles, that's a win. The next thing you know, people are screaming about going 15-0. But let's run down the chat. Let's see who is hanging out here bright and early on this Monday morning. It's cool. I went and looked earlier before we went live, and most of the people in the early chat were members of the channel. And, you know, that's something as I sell you guys on. You become a member of the channel, gives us the opportunity to provide you more content, and then all the members of the channel were early arrivals. I love to see it. Clifton Flynn was in the house. Chris Wu is here. What's up, Chris Wu? Short Fuse is here. Renegade Cheetah is in the house. Said, it is my birthday. Go Vols. Happy birthday, Renegade Cheetah. Enjoy it. Enjoy the day. Giving you a morning stream. That's your birthday present from myself and Gabriel. Cody's in the house. What's up, Cody? Angry Titan is here. Tyler Coggins in the house. Go Big Orange. Beat LSU. Marcus Rush is here. It's Tiger Week. Let's get it. Raleigh Seasons is in the house. Who else we got here? We got Robert McGee in the house. Morning, y'all. It's great to be a Tennessee Vol. I'm glad you guys love this morning show. Zachary Whitfield is here. Somebody said, you know, really digging the morning streams, really enjoying them. And look, here's the deal. We're committed. I already talked to Gabriel off air. We're going to do these every Monday morning. Every Monday morning from now until the end of the football season. You guys asked for it. You guys have demanded it. You guys seem to enjoy it. Look, Xavier had the opportunity to come on a few times because of the way work was, his schedule fell. But he can't do that every Monday. Gabriel can. So I've got a wingman. We'll keep doing this every single Monday. A lot of super chats coming in. Let me get caught up on those. The Artful Dauber for 10. Thank you for the super chat. Morning Vol Faithful. First time catching a morning show live. Yeah, it seems like a different audience. But then some of you crazy nut jobs were in here last night, and then you're right back here 12 hours later. Love to see it. John Hill for 10. Thank you for the super chat. Let's get ready. Win in Bayou. Let's go. Big Orange. Man, such a huge game. Again, we're going to get into it. We're going to talk about the importance of this football game carrying forward into the schedule. Got a few more super chats here. Somebody was counting down to when we were going to go live, but then we were late starting because we were talking. That's what happens. Ralph Keith for $20. Doesn't have anything to say. Just says, I love the morning show. So here's a $20 tip to get you guys started. Here's a $1.99 from Rolly Season. Thank you for the super chat. Good morning, Boogie and G Daddy. I told you, Gabriel, it's not going away. It's not going away.
I actually have like 4 different nicknames. It's the different groups of people are using different nicknames. So you know what? I'm just gonna let it roll.
You're just gonna roll with it. They were saying it. They were saying it last night in the chat, and then I was like later G Daddy, and I was thinking it was somebody in the chat that was their screen name, and I was like, oh no, that was the name they created for Gabriel. It's not going anywhere. It's G Daddy or Dauber's son, one or the other.
Well, I've seen G Money, I've seen Dauber's boy, G Daddy. One person did call me, who Scott, I think, called me Gabe. So there you go. That's a very very solid nickname there. One that I'm familiar with. So I don't know. Oh, Dave said, "Good morning, Boogie and Vols puppy."
What?
So,
see, you should have created a nickname early when you first started coming on, because now they're going to create one for you. But hey, just roll with it. Just roll with it. Let the chat runs the show. You know the deal. You know the deal.
They got some creativity. Let it flow.
Stevie J for $50. That ain't cheap. It's early. That ain't cheap. We got to play the clip.
Money isn't everything. It's the only thing. And everyone has a price for the $1 Million Man.
Let me actually go update the banner here for the Super Chat top contributors, because it's a new month. So we got a new leaderboard, but Wayne Starnes dropped a $50 Super Chat last night. So somebody wants to knock him off the pedestal. I always scroll that across the bottom because I want to recognize those of you that financially contribute to this show. Still blows my mind that James Moody dropped a $500 Super Chat. Like, what is wrong with you? What is wrong with you? I appreciate it. I love it. I love the support. But James, sometimes I think you might be getting a little bit crazy. But James, top Super Chat contributor of all time with a $500 Super Chat. Wayne dropped $50 last night. Current live stream leader, Stevie J, for $50 says, thanks for the morning shows. Go Vols. Yeah, we enjoy it, man. I love getting on here Monday morning. Kind of replacing Jason Swain is what they said. I'm the new Jason Swain, and Gabriel, you're the new Ben McKee. We'll just roll with it. We can't fill those shoes, but we'll take it. All right, let's jump into this. Let's talk about this LSU game again. Absolutely huge. Coach speak. I've said it for the last couple of days, but it's the truth. Florida is in the rearview mirror. It's time to shift the focus to LSU. Just how big is this game, Gabriel? How big is this game for this program to continue that trajectory? You're in the top 10 for the first time since highest ranking since like 2006. Just a huge football game coming up on Saturday.
Right. Well, if you're someone looking from the outside, you probably don't think this game is super important. I mean, obviously Tennessee's ranked number 8. It's going to be a big game. They don't want to lose. But if you're someone looking from the outside, you say, well, LSU's an SEC West opponent. You know, Tennessee's season is intact. It's still intact. If they lose to LSU, you know, some people still do have LSU as a loss for us going, 9-3 or 8-4. But as a Tennessee fan, this game feels just as big as any game I think we've had so far. And I think it's just because so many of us really do believe that our team is legit, but we have to get there first. You know what I mean? We really do think our team is legit, but we're not going to know until they play these games. And so that's why each one of these games feels just as big as the last, because we really do need to win this game. It is a big game if we want to carry the momentum back home to host Alabama. It's a big game if we want to beat Alabama, in my opinion. It's a big game if each game can have an effect on the rest of the season. And I think this could be the game that if Tennessee loses, we really look back and say, man, they should have won that game. So I think it is a big one for for UT fans and for Tennessee to win, and I'm feeling pretty confident.
Nate Pruitt with a super chat that kind of follows up with what you're saying there. Thank you for the $2, Nate. Says it just feels like Tennessee is back, baby. Go Big Orange. An Orange Cillian becomes a member of the channel. We appreciate that support. You've got access to custom Talkin VAWLS emojis. Join Talkin VAWLS Gold, so you'll also have access to the fan call-in shows. We're going to be live tomorrow night at 9 p.m. with the fan call-in show. Eric Kane's going to be joining the show, so it's going to be another long one. We're going to go live at 9 o'clock with Eric Kane for about 20, 30 minutes, and then open it up to you guys for the fan call-in show, so make sure you tune in to that tomorrow. Stevie J with another $50. Stevie J feeling the love today. You know what that means.
Money isn't everything. It's the only thing. And everyone has a price for the $1 Million Man.
Stevie J for a 50 spot says we beat Bama, and I'll drop $1,000 in the super chat. I'll somebody screen capture that right now. Just go ahead and get my big ugly face pointing at that right there. Right there. Somebody screen capture that. Somebody screen captured that right there. And we'll remind Stevie J of his promise. Appreciate the tip, Stevie J. Being very generous this morning. Brad says, write that one down. Yeah, we might just leave that one up there for a while. Yeah, that ain't cheap. That ain't cheap, Negaval. That's a big-time super chat. But, going back to what you were saying, Gabriel, it feels like huge for this program because it does feel like we're right on the verge of being back. And that's why, guys like you that are younger, you don't remember the days where every game counts. And, we had the conversation. Great show last Wednesday for a bye week. And somehow late in the show, myself, Dauber, and JP got to talking about the college football playoff and expanding it to more teams. And, I'm against that. And I talked about how the more teams you add, the less value there is on the regular season. And right as of now, and you can argue like the whole Georgia-Alabama SEC championship, and then they end up back in the playoff anyway. But that's the exception to the rule. For the most part, you've got to win every game. Maybe you can slip up once. Maybe you can slip up once to a team like LSU and still win out through the East and still make it to Atlanta. But this game just feels huge when you look at the rest of the schedule. And every game is going to be that way because when you're good, when you're successful, when you're back, and I'm not ready to say we're back, but it certainly freaking feels like it. But LSU, huge. You go take care of business. Guess what? That one's in the rearview mirror, and you start looking at Alabama, and now this becomes huge. If we're going to turn the corner, if Tennessee's truly going to be back, that Alabama game is the one that's going to solidify it. You got to beat the big three. You've got to beat the Floridas, Georgias, and the Alabamas. Josh Heupel's already put Florida in the rearview mirror, and yes, it's not the Florida of old. Tennessee was favored to win that game, but still, you go out, you take care of business. You go beat LSU, then Alabama. They become the next game. Guess what? You go upset Alabama, you go beat Alabama, and you're 6-0. You're going to be ranked. You may be in the top 2-3 in the country at that point. And guess what? We're gonna skip right over UT Martin, and then we're gonna start talking about how big the Kentucky game is, and how we can lose that game, and how important it is. And then it's on to Georgia, and so on and so forth. But that's what happens when you're back, when you're good, when the games matter. Gabriel, every single freaking game is it. It's all on the line Saturday against LSU.
Right. Well, that's what I've been saying this week is I've literally never in my life seen Tennessee get so much love from the media, as far as people legitimately listing Tennessee as the dark horse national title contender. Like that's just never been even in the realm of possibility my entire life. So hearing that, it's terrifying. It's terrifying because other teams are scared of Tennessee, and that has not been the case for a very, very long time, since I was, a toddler probably. So it feels so weird, but it's gonna take a while to get used to it. But if again, that's why we need to win these games, because if we start losing these games, that feeling goes away.
Yeah, and you can see there, I got it on the screen, Tennessee actually the favorite in this game, going on the road to play LSU. And that kind of surprised me when that came out. Guys, we got 210 people watching this morning show. Do us a favor. If you haven't hit that thumbs up, that's quick, free, and easy. You don't have to do anything but hit the little thumb below the video. We would appreciate it. It does play the game of YouTube. It helps the channel. But if you want to go a step further, hit share. Put this out there. Let somebody on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, let somebody know we're live. We would greatly appreciate it. And then I'm just going to go ahead and put it out there so all of you guys know, everybody that's watching the replay, and I know that's how this morning show works. A lot of you guys watch it throughout the day when you get an opportunity, and we appreciate that. But just, again, to let you know, we're going live every single Monday, 9 a.m. from now till the end of the season. So that's a fifth live stream that we're adding to the schedule. But when you talk about, this matchup with LSU, I think a big factor, and you said the words about other teams fearing Tennessee, and it's been a long time since Tennessee was feared. And to go a little deeper with that, I want them to fear this defense. And I know that's backwards because Tennessee lives on the offense, but I want LSU to fear this I want them to see, we're going to talk about the scores around the SEC. We're going to get into the Kentucky-Ole Miss game. Ole Miss was aggressive, and their defense was a big part in that win. Tennessee's defense was a big part in the win against Pittsburgh. I want to see them come out with that style of game plan, and we don't know yet. Daniels may be out. The knee injury, we'll see how the week goes. If it's the backup particularly, get after him, play aggressive, quit this sitting back in the soft zone and giving a quarterback an opportunity to pick you apart. I would get after him, stay in your pass rushing lanes, contain Daniels. We saw that against Auburn. Even though Auburn lost, they did a good job containing Daniels. But do you agree, disagree? Do you not want to see Tennessee's defense just be aggressive and put the fear of God in people?
I would love to see that. I would have loved to see that against Florida. Obviously, they thought that, they were going to make Anthony Richardson beat them with his arm. Which he couldn't do in the end. So, but it's just more fun to watch. Definitely, Tennessee be aggressive because we know how well they can get after the quarterback. You put Josh Josephs and Elijah Herring in there. One of them is getting to the quarterback in a matter of seconds. That's just how it is. They're just that level of player. But yeah, if Jaden Daniels, I think Jaden Daniels is going to play. He's not going to be 100% though. I don't feel like so. Even if he's like 90 or 95, he might still be playing with a little bit of a little gimpy, and that might have an effect on him mentally too if he doesn't feel that he can use his full rushing ability. And then Kayshon Boutte as well didn't look, something was off with him. I think he got kind of banged up, and then he had a couple of drops. So he's he is arguably their offensive weapon. So yeah, I would like to see Tennessee's defense be aggressive, and I don't think you can make Jaden Daniels beat you with his arm, because I think he can beat you with his arm. He's not the most talented passer in the SEC, but he's good enough in this system that he could make Tennessee pay for it. Their wide receivers aren't that great, but our corners haven't been playing that great either. So, yeah, I would like to see Tennessee really dial up the pressure, get after Jaden Daniels, keep him in the pocket and just close down that pocket on him and either force him to throw a bad throw or just take him down. I think we will be able to generate turnovers that way. I don't think he throws that great under pressure. I don't think he does. So I don't know. I think it's I agree. I think we need to see our defense, really dial it up and bring him down to the ground multiple times and stop their run game too. Cause their running backs are pretty solid. And our run defense has been pretty incredible. If we can shut down the run game and then force him to pass and get that pressure on him, it's going to be a turnover party, and Tennessee's defense is going to look really good.
Yeah, I think turnovers could be a big part of the game. That's single-handedly how LSU beat Auburn, was by forcing turnovers. And, there's a difference between shooting yourself in the foot, and Auburn did that a couple of times, and then there's defensive players making plays, and we saw that. It's an interesting matchup when you look at the numbers, and I've got them there on the screen, really kind of similar to a certain extent. I mean, Tennessee, you mentioned their rush defense, they're giving up less than 100 yards on the ground per game. And, again, somebody said, Boogie, your headline for this week is that Tennessee is heading into their third top 25 matchup of the year. So, yes, they played Akron. Yes, they played Ball State, but they also played Pitt and Florida, and they're still giving up less than 100 yards per game on the ground. LSU's run defense really good as well, only giving up 109 yards, but their pass defense, 184 yards given up through the air, whereas Tennessee giving up 309 yards per game passing through 4 games. That is a train wreck. That is a disaster. And that's, the Florida game, that's sitting back playing conservative. And I see a lot of people in the chat agreeing with us, saying, bring that Pitt defense, bring the aggressive defense that you played with against Pitt. And, I've been saying it for a couple of weeks now. Who cares if you get beat? What's the worst that could happen? They throw for 400 yards. Just let it happen, and then go answer, because this offense can score on anybody in the country. And if you end up in a shootout, I like our odds in that shootout. And I'm even seeing a lot of people in the media start to jump on board with that. They must be tuning in. They must be one of the 250 people watching live right now, taking Boogie's opinions. But they're starting to run with that of, hey, they're not stopping the pass anyway. Sell out, bring pressure, get after the quarterback, and just live or die on that.
Yeah, well, and LSU's defense, the statistics don't tell the story. I watched the LSU Auburn game on Saturday, and I will say their defense is opportunistic, like you said, players making plays. They have players on the defense that can make plays if you give them a chance. If you don't give them the chance, they're not that good of a defense. They're just not. I mean, Auburn had their backup quarterback in there who actually looked better than Finley, but he kind of ran all over them. He kind of tore up their defense, even though Auburn didn't score that many points. And I think that's a pretty good sign for Tennessee. Auburn's running backs kind of carved them up at times. They were able to bust off 6, 8, 10, 15-yard runs pretty consistently. So LSU's defense certainly can't stop Tennessee. Can they generate a turnover? Probably. I think that they are. I think they're kind of screwed either way, because if they play conservative and sit back, we have the ability to run all over them. We haven't really seen our running backs have a breakout game, but also having Hendon Hooker as a runner is big. But if they want to bring the pressure, then we can just take the top off of them and send it to one of either Jalen Hyatt, Brew McCoy, or Ramel Keaton, or Squirrel, any one of our wide receivers deep down the field. So I think that LSU's defense is opportunistic, but not necessarily good. They're more of a backyard football kind of looking defense, and that's against such a schemed offense like Tennessee. That's not a good sign. So, I don't know.
Let me get caught up on Super Chats, and we're going to kind of jump into, you're talking about the LSU Auburn game. I want to look around the SEC and talk about how that changes our opinions, kind of like the emotional reaction video, but kind of expand on that just a little bit more. John Hill for $10. Thank you, John, for the Super Chat. I went to the Ark Encounter yesterday, headed to Creation Museum today. Praise the Lord, I'll be back home by game time. Go Big Orange. Thank you, John, for the Super Chat. Enjoy it, my man, and get dialed in, ready for LSU on Saturday. Mountain Doom for 10. Thank you for the Super Chat. I'll be in Hawaii during the LSU game. That means the Tennessee LSU game will be at 6 a.m. I feel like, is that a humble brag? Is Mountain Dew, is that a humble brag? He's like, oh, by the way, I'll unfortunately be in Hawaii. Enjoy it. It's never too early. It's 5 o'clock somewhere, Mountain Dew. So go ahead and pour that drink and get ready for that Tennessee LSU game at 6 a.m. Wade Rouse for 5, who's coming to help take over Baton Rouge on Saturday. I have a feeling we're going to see a lot of orange down there this week. Can't wait to be there.
I'll be there.
That's go find Dauber's son. He will be at the game. I bet he'll sign an autograph for you. You can meet him in person. If you see any of us out in the wild, come up, say hi, take a picture, post it on social media, whatever you want to do. Don't be afraid to come say hello. If you see us out and about at a college football game or somewhere. Got 250 people watching live. Guys, smash the thumbs up. Just a reminder of the schedule coming up this week. Tomorrow night, fan call-in show at 9 a.m. Eric Kane will be joining the show for Locked On Talkin VAWLS for about 20, 25, 30 minutes, something like that. And then we'll open it up to the fan call-in. Just a quick note, I told you guys last night, anybody that wasn't here, We're going to be doing that every week now. I'm going to be on Locked On Vols every Friday. For every Friday show, we'll be doing a crossover over there, and then Eric will kind of be bouncing around. He's going to do Tuesday this week, but he said he wants to come on and do a Monday show with me and Gabriel at some point, so we'll be doing that as well. Then we've got the regular Wednesday show, 7 p.m. We are going to do a tailgate show. I know a lot of you guys got disappointed when we didn't do one for Akron. We do it for the big games, so we'll do one this week. That means 11 a.m. 11 a.m. will be live for the Fan Call-In Tailgate show. But let's look at some scores around the SEC from this week. Gabriel, what's the big games that stood out for you? And again, when I watch football, I mainly watch the SEC. I don't watch a whole lot of other games. Maybe if there's a big-time matchup, I'll watch it. But more than anything, I want to watch the SEC matchups. But then more particular, I want to take a look at games that impact Tennessee. What were the big games you had circled this week?
Well, I looked at, Kentucky Ole Miss, obviously. That's a SEC East opponent in Kentucky that we haven't really been able to get a good gauge on. So this was going to be a really good measuring stick for them. Alabama, Arkansas, again, really, Arkansas, it was sort of a toss-up between, I think, Tennessee and Arkansas for the third best team in the SEC. No, I think that's probably Tennessee and Ole Miss as a toss-up for the third best team in the SEC. Obviously, they kept it close with Bam. It was sort of like the traditional Tennessee game, right, where Tennessee keeps it close until the last, 10 minutes of the game, and then Alabama runs away and makes the score look like they did a lot better job than they did. Alabama did not play a very good football. Well, they played an okay football game, but Arkansas almost came back on them. Georgia, Missouri wasn't a big game to me. I know Missouri put up a really great fight, and the thick kick had a incredible game, but I loved watching that guy. But I mean, Georgia was not going to lose that football game. I just knew they weren't going to lose that football game, so that wasn't big to me. But what that does give us is, Kirby Smart said it after the game, no SEC game is easy. I would disagree. I think Vanderbilt's probably easy, but Georgia went in there and almost lost to Missouri, who's played horrendously all season. So, we as Tennessee fans have to be careful because we really view the South Carolina, Missouri, and Vanderbilt as gimmies. We got to be careful. So that's what I learned from that game. So those were really the games I haven't those three. So yeah.
A lot of people, and that's the thing, I think as fans, we do have to be careful. It seems like, everybody, and that's what started the whole emotional reaction videos, because everybody freaks out. And my phone was absolutely blowing up. Like you said, that Georgia-Missouri game wasn't even on my radar. I was watching the Auburn-LSU game on DVR. It wasn't even a thought. I just assumed Georgia would go in there and blow them out, and people want to make more of it than what it is. But look, good football teams find a way to win games. That's what we said about the Pitt game and the Florida game. Tennessee didn't play their A game, but they still went in there and got wins in those games. And people want to point out Georgia's schedule, and they've had a couple of nail-biters. Kent State, 39-22 win. People want to freak out about that because the last 2 weeks. But do you think those Georgia players respect Kent State at all? Do they respect Missouri? No, they don't. They don't. And it is what it is. You found a way to get out of there with a win. And, yeah, I flipped over and hit record so I could go back and watch it if I needed to. But at the time, when I'm looking, I'm like, there's no way. There is absolutely no way that Georgia is going to lose this football game. And they didn't. And you look at it, and they had not trailed the entire year. The entire year, not one time had they trailed in a football game. And then they trail from start to finish. But guess what? At the end of the day, when it hit zero, somebody, by the way, in the chat pointed out that I say at the end of the day all the time. So you're welcome for that. But they got the win, and that's all that matters. And I don't know that I put too much into it. When I look around the rest of the SEC, that Kentucky game was one that I was watching. And I think, I've talked about how I believe that Kentucky's going to come out and they're going to throw it. They're going to throw it at will all over Tennessee and try to win through the passing game. But Will Levis has shown time and time and time again that when the game's on the line, he cracks, man. He breaks under pressure, and he had 2 opportunities to go win that football game, and he just cracked. He cracked, he broke, he turned it over twice. Kentucky, it's still going to be a dogfight when Tennessee gets there.
Oh, yeah. Make no mistake, everyone in the chat. Kentucky is not a gimme game. Remember, we almost lost to them last year. We only won by 3. in my mind, even I had to remind myself of that because in my mind, I was like, oh, yeah, we beat Kentucky. I don't even need to know the score. We only beat them by 3. I'm just telling you, Kentucky is not as good of a team as Tennessee, but they are a solid team. We got to be careful. I mean, Ole Miss, Kentucky, well, Will Levis gave that game to Ole Miss. Ole Miss is by no means a bad team. They are a good team. And Kentucky is, make no mistake, it's going to be a difficult matchup. But yeah, Will Levis, the number 1 pick, that was a pitiful showing. I mean, just pitiful. I mean, we're not. He's not gonna. But again, I'm not gonna make any predictions because again, he might have an Anthony Richardson type day against Tennessee, and then after that week, they're saying, "Oh, he's back on number 1 on the draft boards because he had 1 good game." So I'm not gonna speak in anything into existence. I'm not gonna jinx it. But
I think the NFL looks so much just at size, arm strength. Like Joe Milton. Joe Milton will be a huge NFL prospect next year. He will, and he's going to start for Tennessee. He'll start from day 1. Hopefully he makes it the full season, man. And Nico gets the red shirt, and Taven Jackson. It's going to be a huge quarterback competition, but I like Joe Milton. But the NFL is going to love his body type, and that's the way it is with Will Levis. Big, strong kid, good arm. I think they can fix him. Part of it's he plays for freaking Kentucky. Let's just be honest. He plays for Kentucky. And Kentucky's not the Kentucky of old. Buck in the chat says Kentucky is not on the rise. They have plateaued. I think so. I would agree with that. But Stoops has the perfect job there because they are a basketball school. We saw that a couple of weeks ago, the arguments on Twitter between the coaches up there at Kentucky. They're a basketball school. He can go out, and if he's winning 8 to 10 games a year, yeah, they're going to be happy. They're going to be happy. They're going to be content.
Yeah, Kentucky's happy with 10 wins every single year. And Renegade Cheetah is saying that Kentucky is not. He said, or they said, Kentucky is nothing compared to the Vols. We have the better team. Did you watch the Georgia-Missouri game? I would say Georgia's a better team than Missouri. They almost lost that game. Imagine the chaos that'd be going on if Georgia lost to Missouri. Just because you are a better football team on paper does not dictate how the game plays out.
And how good are we? How good is this Tennessee football team? And I'm playing a little devil's advocate here because I am tickled to death that we're ranked in the top 10 and 4-0. Nobody loves that more than Boogie Bentley. I am as happy can be, my man. But how good are we really? Let me hit this super chat real quick from Robert McGee. Thank you for the $10. It's going to be hard for LSU to defend the run. Georgia exposed. Bama beatable. USC Junior is trash. Candy Vandy a win. Georgia is exposed. 11-1. Let's go, Robert. Let's go, Robert. Robert's got me fired up with that super chat. But this is what I'm talking about, though. Are we that good? Are we that good? Yes, the record says 4-0, but it's just as easy for the LSU fan base, for the Georgia fan base, Bama, anybody can go look at our team and what they've done, and they can look at the win over Pitt, who just lost to a terrible Georgia Tech team. Well, Tennessee had to go to overtime to beat Pitt. Yeah. Florida, not a very good football team. They are down this year. Well, Tennessee barely snuck by. They almost choked. They almost gave it away. I said when I was on Locked On Vols last week, Tennessee could easily be 2-2 right now, but good teams find ways to win, and that's what they did. They went and won. But how good are we? Are we truly a top 10 team? Gabriel, you mentioned earlier the national championship talk. Do we deserve that? Are we good enough to be in that conversation? Can we do like Robert said? Can we get to 11-1? We can. Will we? Will we get there?
We'll find out. But that's what I've said. Especially all this week, and especially after that LSU game, is I can already see if we keep it close with LSU, we're going down into Death Valley. Yeah, it's 11 a.m., but it's still a hard environment to play in. To play a solid LSU team that's now ranked in the top 25, third top 25 matchup. Okay. I can already see if Tennessee keeps that game close. Well, Tennessee kept it close with a LSU team that kept it close with Auburn. So how good are we really? That's like, well, we're 5-0 though, but we're 5-0. Kentucky, that's not a gimme win. I know Pitt got beat by Georgia Tech, so now everyone's like, oh, well, I don't feel good about that win anymore because Pitt lost to Georgia Tech. And it's like, again, that goes to my point just a second ago. The better team doesn't always win. That's why you have to respect it. Pitt players were going in there saying, oh, Georgia Tech just fired their head coach. They're not going to be blah, blah, blah. But they lost. You know what I mean? So I don't think that it's the same reason why I don't like, frankly, I don't like Kentucky getting beat by Ole Miss, because I want Kentucky to be ranked number 5 or 6 when we play them, because we are the better team. And I want to be able to show that we can beat those sorts of teams, because to the outside perspective, those rankings do matter. That's why I would rather beat it, even if Pitt, Florida, and LSU they're not actually top 25 teams. They're falsely ranked. I'd rather beat them while they're ranked, period. Same, that's why I don't necessarily like Kentucky losing that game, because, I would have liked to, come in, and even if we lost to Alabama, we'll probably still be a top 10, top 12 team, play UT Martin, and then, upset number 6 or 7 Kentucky. But at this point, that's not quite going to be the case. But so, yeah, I can already see that, man. Like, we keep it close to LSU and everyone freaks out going, oh, man, we barely keep it close to LSU. We don't got a chance against Bama. And I don't want to see that attitude, but we'll see.
That's what we as fans do, though. That's what we as fans do. We are so psychotic on both sides of the fence. It's like, and it depends on what day I'm on here. And people are like, well, Boogie, you said this on Tuesday, but then you said that on Thursday. It's an emotional wave, and you start on Monday here, and you go up as we get closer to the game. And by the time we get to game day, it's all Vols by 50. Come up with the rhymes. I love the memes. But, man, that's just what passionate fan bases do. Robert McGee for another 5. Thank you for the super chat. Show up on game day, and they win. I agree with that. I think this team can play with anybody in the country. Cole Dockery for 5. Let's make a bet. Boogie, $100. We're going to Atlanta. I'm telling you right now. Why would I pay somebody $100 if Tennessee went to Atlanta? I would be happier than anybody. I don't think they get to Atlanta. I think they can. You gotta, when people ask who would you rather beat, would you rather beat Georgia or Alabama? That Alabama game would be huge for this fan base. It would be huge for people like JP that absolutely hate Alabama. But the win over Georgia is more crucial, because that's the road to Atlanta, is getting that win against an SEC opponent. But Georgia's schedule is not very difficult. They are set up perfectly to get to Atlanta. They beat Tennessee. They're a lock. They're going to Atlanta. There's no way around it.
Unless they pull if they lost to Missouri, then there was a chance.
Right.
Again, I didn't really want Georgia to lose to Missouri, because, again, then if we beat them, then it doesn't look as good if we don't beat the number 1 or number 2 team. So I don't know. I agree that this Tennessee team can beat anybody they play. I think Tennessee could play Ohio State and win that football game. I just do. I think Tennessee could play Georgia and win that football game. I think Tennessee could play Alabama and win that football game.
Does your opinion change? Let's pull up the schedule. Does your opinion change? We're 4 weeks into the season, sitting at 4-0. Does your opinion change based on what you've seen the past couple of weeks around the SEC? Not just the way that Tennessee is playing, but the way that other teams are playing, the way that LSU played Auburn. And everybody talking about Auburn. Auburn's only lost 1 football game. Like, they're just slowly, casually walking through the season. Everybody talking about Harsin getting fired at any point. They're 1-1 in the SEC, 3-2 overall after the loss to LSU. But they were sitting at 3-1 in that game with an opportunity to win. I mean, they jumped out, what was it, to a 17-0 lead? Auburn very easily could have beat LSU. Alabama, they look beatable. They struggled against Texas. Arkansas, they jumped out to a pretty quick lead. Arkansas started to make that a fight, and then Alabama just pulled away. Obviously, Bryce Young's hurt, even though the backup terrifies me. I don't know what you guys are watching. I see that backup, I'm scared to death. I would rather Bryce Young play than the backup. I'm serious. With our defense, that kid, That kid looks unlike anything I've ever seen at the quarterback position. He looks like elite running the football. UT Martin is what it is. Kentucky, still a good football team. Georgia has slipped up. Does your mind change any as you look through this schedule based on what you've seen through 5 weeks of football?
No, because well, from the beginning of the season, yes, because we're 4-0. We beat Florida, so that's and Pitt. From the beginning of the season, yes. Over the past couple weeks, I don't think so. At the end of the day, Alabama and Georgia are still the 1 and 2 team in the nation. They are genuinely very good teams. I think they are, but I think the only thing that's changed is the fact that I do truly believe that both of those games are winnable. At the beginning of the season, I don't know that I could look at those games and say that either of them were winnable for this Tennessee team. But now that we have seen it through 4 games, we'll see what happens this weekend. But if we win this game, I'm gonna feel really good, not necessarily about our chances of beating them, but that we can beat them. Georgia and Alabama. Obviously, Kentucky's a hard opponent. You don't want to drop. Alontae Taylor said it best. You don't lose to Kentucky. But that is a tough game. I think Tennessee is the better team. I think Tennessee should win that game. I think Tennessee should beat Missouri and South Carolina and Vanderbilt. So it's hard to say for sure, but from the beginning of the season, yes, my opinion has changed because I think now that Alabama game especially is very winnable, if not almost a toss-up. And that's something to talk about. Is if Tennessee beats LSU, they're ranked number 7 or 6. Alabama's ranked number 1 or 2, depending on what happens this weekend. They always rotate. But I almost view that game as a toss-up. Just because it's just two high-scoring offenses. Tennessee's just so electric. I don't know. So my opinion has changed from the beginning of the season. I think we have a good outlook.
I think you go beat LSU, and it changes the entire expectation for this season.
Right.
Like right now, we talked about the importance of going 4-0 in September. You got that done. I'm still looking at it. I still look at the schedule, and I'm like, they can still go 8-4. But we talked about it. I think that's the floor now. You can lose to LSU, Alabama, Georgia, Kentucky. You can slip up and end up being 8-4. You go beat LSU, I think all of a sudden the expectation is going to become 10-2. Because, like you said, I think according to Vegas, Tennessee wouldn't be favored against Alabama. But you're talking about, again, when you're looking at the rankings, Tennessee's sitting at 8th right now. How far up do they jump with a win over a 25th ranked LSU? You're talking about 3 wins against top 25 opponents. I think Tennessee would jump some. I don't know that they would necessarily jump to the top 5, maybe up to like 6th or something. And, again, that's going to depend on how the matchups look. I'm looking at the top 25 right now. Let me actually just go ahead and share it. I need to do a better job sharing what we're talking about. That way people aren't looking at our ugly mugs. They can look at the screen instead. But when you look at the AP poll, the top 25, Alabama right up there at the top at number 1. Like you said, Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State. You can rotate those however you want. I do not care. Until one of those teams loses, they're the top 3, and it doesn't really – I don't care who's 1, 2, or 3. It is what it is. 1A, 1B, 1C. But Alabama taking on Texas A&M. Alabama's going to win that football game. Jimbo Fisher, does anybody do less with top-level talent? Like, the only guy that I could compare it to is Mark Richt. Mark Richt, that's why he got ran out of Georgia, because he always had top-level talent, but he always did less with it. And I think Jimbo Fisher is very similar to that. And at what point does Texas A&M get sick of it? Like, it doesn't matter if you're pulling top 25 classes, if you're not winning, if you're not having success, that they will run him out of town. And that's what happened with Mark Richt. And to come full circle back to the conversation about Kentucky and Coach Stoops, it's he's content there. If they're winning 8, 9, 10 games, that fan base, they're not going to run him out of town for that. Jimbo Fisher, you can't pull the number one class over and over and over and go 8-4. Rolly season for 5. Thank you for the super chat. Georgia hasn't played Alabama in the regular season since 07 and 08. Seems a little biased if you ask me. Well, that's all about rivalries, and people have that conversation. And we can have it. We'll have the conversation and come back to the AP poll. A lot of people want Alabama off the rotation. They want them off the schedule. That's not where I come from. I want to play the best. I want to beat the best. I don't want Alabama off the schedule because they're tough. They're a tough opponent. And it's also about cycles, right? Like Alabama, yes, they are a dynasty. They have been at the top for a long time. But there was also a time where Tennessee owned Alabama, and every year that was a win for Coach Fulmer. But what do you think? Gabriel, no way you take Alabama off the schedule. It's not biased. It's just that's our West rival.
No, not at all. I mean, the third Saturday – come on. Really? I mean, the third Saturday in October it's one of the great traditions of Tennessee in the past. I mean, in recent, memory, it's such a thing to look forward to in the season because you have to play the best if you want to be the best. I mean, how many times do we see these phony teams play crappy schedules and go unbeaten and then lose to Alabama or Georgia by 30 points?
Wait,
you have to.
What would you say again? You said to be the best, you got to
beat the best.
To be the man, you got to beat the man. And I'm saying, woo, right here.
There you go.
Ric Flair said it best.
I didn't know you had that clip in the back pocket. That was impressive.
I'm ready to go. Yeah, so leave Alabama on the schedule. Let's get back to the AP Top 25. Georgia against Auburn. Anybody can beat anybody, but if we're looking at it, Georgia's going to win that game. Ohio State's going to beat Michigan State. Michigan's going to beat Indiana. Clemson at Boston College. Clemson doesn't play anybody. They'll keep rolling off wins. USC, Washington State. Oklahoma State. Were you surprised that they jumped 2 spots over Tennessee?
Yeah, I thought that was, I don't know what it is with the AP poll. They've been very dramatic this year. I mean, when Florida beat Utah and then jumped from like 35 to 12, that's ridiculous. Oklahoma State, I mean, I'm a little bit more surprised to see Ole Miss at 9, if I'm being honest. I know Kentucky was ranked number 7, but they beat Kentucky by a field goal. Oklahoma State, I mean, I think Tennessee and Ole Miss are better than Oklahoma State and USC. So, again, it's just I was surprised to see that. I thought that was a little dumb. Like, why not just bump Tennessee up and move Oklahoma State into 8th? That was, yeah. So I am surprised by that because Oklahoma State is a good team. They're not that good. I mean, I think at the beginning of the season, they were ranked like number 12, and then they like kind of turned in a poor performance and they fell back. I don't know. I think it's silly.
Yeah, I mean, they beat Baylor. What was Baylor? Were they? I think they were maybe towards the bottom of the top 25. Outside of that, like who have they even beat? And it's like they beat Central Michigan by 2 touchdowns. They beat Arizona State. It's just they haven't really played anybody. And again, when you talk about Tennessee having, and yes, the Florida jump was very dramatic, but still a win over a top 15 team in Pitt and a top ranked team in Florida. I just think their resume, and it doesn't matter if Tennessee, you just take care of business. Tennessee is going to continue to climb, but we look at who's ranked ahead of them. Now, they go beat LSU on the road, ranked 25th. They may jump back over Oklahoma State, but I just think a lot of times the rankings are all about TV ratings, right? It's all about matchups, and I would not be surprised to see them bump Tennessee up like 5th, 6th. That way they've got that number 1 Alabama versus number 6.
Oh, for
number
sure.
5 Tennessee. You talk about dramatics, a top 5 matchup between Alabama and Tennessee. And again, we talk about going back to the glory days. That's what it is, man. A top matchup between Tennessee and Florida, a top matchup between Alabama and Tennessee. God forbid you go take care of business at Alabama inside of Neyland Stadium. Tear the goalpost down. I said it in the Florida tailgate. Do not storm that field. Do not do it by beating a team you're favored to beat. If Tennessee beats Alabama and any of you guys in the chat are at the game, hit the field, tear the goalpost down, throw it back in the Tennessee River because Tennessee is back. If they go beat Alabama, they are back. Are they back if they lose to LSU and then beat Alabama, Gabriel?
I know this was a conversation last night.
It leaves a sour taste in your mouth. Sour taste in your mouth.
Back is too far. Is Tennessee a good football team if they lose to LSU and beat Alabama? Yes, they're still a good football team, obviously, because they beat Alabama. Back, I don't think the definition, I think, to a lot of people of Tennessee being back is competing for SEC or national championship. If you have that SEC loss to LSU, it doesn't look that great. But yeah, like the Artful Dauber said, not till we're back in Atlanta. That's kind of what it. So is Tennessee back if they lose to LSU and beat Alabama? No, I would rather beat LSU and lose to Alabama, frankly, because that's predictable and there's not going to be a riot. We don't want anybody having heart attacks. Losing to LSU and then beating out. That's too big of a roller coaster, I think. So,
Buck says they're back if they do that. I think for me to, a lot of times I say they are back, but I don't mean it. For me to truly mean it, for me to truly mean that, Austin Byers, a lot of guys making bets. My pledge still stands, $500 super chat if the Vols go 6-0. So hold on a second. That's Austin Byers going to drop $500. Who was it that says they were going to drop $1,000? So that's $1,500. Stevie J. Yeah, so that's $1,500 in super chats that need to go directly in my pocket. I don't want anybody on here claiming that they're for JP, claiming that they're for Dauber, claiming that they're for Gabriel. Those are bets with Boogie. I'm marking it down. Somebody screen capture this. But look, for me, Rolly season for 2. Thank you for super chat. Just saying being back is 10 wins, 10-win seasons per the 90s. I think 10-win seasons and getting to Atlanta. You got to get to Atlanta. I think that truly says Tennessee is back. But it's just where Josh Heupel has this program. We're not back yet, but it's like we're having legitimate conversation. Tennessee, and I think that's the big thing when you do look at the schedule the rest of the way. Can Tennessee win? Should they win? What's the conversation? Vegas is likely going to favor Tennessee in every game from here on out outside of Georgia and Alabama. So we can sit here and have battered Vol syndrome and say, well, it's LSU, it's on the road, it's tough. Vegas says Tennessee's the better football team. Same thing with Kentucky. If Tennessee's favored, do we need to stop being soft and stop saying, well, just 8-4 is what I said, let's stick with that, and start saying Vegas says Tennessee's the better team. Go do what you do and win these football games and finish 10-2, and then we'll start having the conversation about being back.
Right. Yeah, I think so. Again, I mean, we don't want to be the Iowa State of the SEC. We don't want to come in every season, beat whoever the top team is, and then lose 6 games. We want to win all the games. So, but before we're back. So, I think somebody who said that a second ago. Let me find it. Somebody said that they would say that Tennessee has arrived, but we're not back. So we're standing at the doorway. We're looking into the room.
The conversation.
Yeah,
we're in the conversation.
Exactly. But is anybody surprised that this week in particular, Tennessee is only favored by 3 points? Is anybody surprised by that? I was a little surprised by that because it opened at 4.5. It's actually gone down, and ESPN still has LSU at a 60%, almost a 60% chance of winning that game. And I don't know what to think about that because that's sort of I don't know. That sort of gets under my skin a little bit because I mean Tennessee, I feel like they could probably win by a few touchdowns, honestly. So how are we going to be 10.5 point favorites against Florida and then 3-point favorites against LSU? Anybody else surprised by that?
Let me hit this from Crazy Nugs for 5. Thank you for the super chat. Back means sustained success. Oh, there's wait a minute. Is that this came in after you said that? But so he's right on the same line though. He said I would say Tennessee has arrived if they beat Bama. Yeah, it's I don't know. Yeah, sustain success. That makes sense, Crazy Nugs. You got to continue to do it year in and year out. But dang it, it feels like Josh Heupel is taking us in the right direction. I said before this last weekend's games, I thought LSU would be favored. I thought they would be favored by a touchdown because I thought, and I still think, even watching the game against Auburn, watching the way LSU's played this season, I think it's a toss-up. I think if anybody is going to run away with it, it's going to be Tennessee. I don't think LSU's offense can keep up, but I think it is a toss-up type of game because what LSU defense shows up? Does the LSU defense show up and get after Hendon Hooker? Somebody asked very early in the show if Tennessee's offensive line could hold up against LSU's defensive line, and that's a good question. I like this coaching staff to scheme something up, especially coming off the bye week. We talked about it last Monday. We talked about Josh Heupel being undefeated coming off of bye weeks as a head coach. I like that being in their favor. But does Tennessee continue to protect the football? And we've seen Hendon Hooker do a good job not throwing interceptions. But if they're getting in the backfield, does Tennessee cough up the football? Can Tennessee run the football? Because we talked about LSU's run defense. They're giving up 109 yards per game. What does Jalen Wright bring to the table? Jabari Small. I like that Jalen Wright protected the football against Florida. He's the leading rusher on this football team. Is Hendon Hooker 100% healthy? I know they said he was practicing the first day back after the win over Florida. It was a shoulder injury, non-throwing shoulder. But clearly, late in that game, after that injury, they did not run Hendon Hooker as much. And that's when you saw the momentum start to shift and Alabama start to make you nervous because we had success running Hendon Hooker. And that's when this offense really thrives, is when Hendon Hooker is keeping it and he is leading your team with over 100 yards rushing against Florida. I think that is also going to be a key against LSU. But I thought it was a toss-up, and I thought LSU would be favored because it's a road game for the Vols.
Yeah, I could see that. I don't know. For some reason, I was just a little surprised that the line's gone down since it opened because I really do think that Tennessee, it's the number 8 team in the country against the number 25 team in the country. Even if you don't look at statistics based on rankings and history, you'd say, man, they should probably be favored by a bit more than that. I know it's on the road, but I don't know. That's a little surprising. I think Hendon is going to be healthy, and I think that we are going to see him run. I think that's probably going to be part of the game plan. I don't know. I think LSU, I don't think their defense is that great. But what I can say about LSU's defense is if you can manage to get a run game going, then your pass game is going to be much better. We can beat them one-dimensionally if we have to pass the whole game. If we can get our run game going, though, LSU has no chance. Now, I'd like to see Dylan Sampson get in the rotation. Jabari Small, as much as I love when he gets upfield and he makes that one cut that he's so good at, he just doesn't have that explosive kind of running style that they've said that Jalen Wright has explosive ability, but I've just not. There's been probably 10 times so far this season where he gets tackled by the last guy he needs to make miss. If he makes a guy miss, he's gone, but he just can't break that tackle. Dylan Sampson, I know we haven't seen a whole lot of him in tough scenarios, but Dylan Sampson has looked really good, and he's very fast and very explosive. Reminds me of like Tyon Evans, that sort of explosive back that was such a tool for us last year. Before he did we ever find out why he left? He just disappeared out of the blue, Jalen Hurts style.
Yeah, well, they talked about being closer to his family, but then he goes to Louisville, which was further away from his family. I think it was grades, honestly. I think that's what it came down to.
Oh God, I just love Tana. I loved watching him play football.
It shows you why this coaching staff and so many people, when I would talk about the transfer portal, kept saying, Boogie, we don't need running backs. We need offensive linemen. We need defensive linebackers. This coaching staff made it a priority to go get a running back, and they didn't get it done. And that's why you saw them add Lynn J. Dixon the week fall camp started. That's how desperate they were. And I know it got a little bit more desperate when Whitehead went down. That kind of, okay, we got to get somebody in here. But you're seeing what they want out of a guy like Dylan Sampson. I think Dylan Sampson is going to be electric, but he's still a true freshman. Hopefully, I think he's going to be healthy. I think everybody should be back healthy this week outside of Cedric Tillman. I don't think he plays. Sounds like it's going to be a game-time decision. But, again, it just shows Tennessee, the run game goes through Hendon Hooker. And I know some people in the chat were saying that Jalen Wright tiptoes too much. I think he's ran the ball well. I think he's been physical. He's averaging almost 5 yards a carry. Averaging a full half yard more than Jabari Small. But Dylan Sampson, when you look at the running back room, he's averaging 4.9 per carry. He's leading the running backs in yards per attempt. So we'll see if he's part of the game plan. I don't know. I don't know if you're going to throw a true freshman out there on the road against LSU.
I don't know why you would, because it was it Brian Niedermeyer that said this, the last tight ends coach? He said, what was it, him? I don't know. I can't remember if it was him or not. But he said, if you have, 3 good tight ends in your room, we're going to play 3 good tight ends. I don't know why, if you have Jabari Small, Jalen Wright, and Dylan Sampson, you only keep it to 2. I know these coaches are big about keeping the guys they trust in the game. It's sort of the same thing with the wide receivers. Why, when we've seen Walker Merrill and Ramel Keaton now also make plays in a big game, why would you just keep it at 3 guys the whole game when you have, 7 or 8 guys in that locker room that can go out there and make a difference? So, I'm not pretending like I'm the coach, and, I know there's reasons for that, but I would like to see them get a 3-back rotation in this game, and really just try and find what works, because Jabari does fight for those extra yards. Jalen is sort of a mix of the two, and then Dylan has that super speed explosibility that I think can make any team pay. So I don't know. I'd like to see them rotate all 3.
Yeah, and to give this coaching staff praise, you have seen Dylan Sampson, right? Now I don't know that you're seeing him in the games that count as much. So I don't know. I agree with you on the wide receiver deal, but again, to play devil's advocate and disagree with you, the way this offense goes, right? They're going quick, they're going fast. You don't have a lot of time to really substitute wide receivers, and I think if you've got 3 guys that you trust more than anybody else, say you come and you throw Ramel Keaton out there for Brew McCoy, now you're going to likely play a full series with Brew McCoy sitting on the sideline. What matchup do you like better? Cedric Tillman's not coming out of the game. Right. I just think, and look, hey, shout out to Ramel Keaton. That kid balled out. He went and made some plays against Florida. He did. Walker Merrill's made some plays. But maybe they just have that confidence in those top 3 wide receivers. And, again, neither one of us is a coach. We don't know what goes on in practice. But I think we're going to wrap it up for this one. Try to give you guys an hour every morning right here at 9 a.m. You guys seem to enjoy it. Very generous with the Super Chats today. We appreciate that. If you're not a member of the channel, become a member of the channel. For as little as 99 cents a month, you can financially support what we are trying to do. Look, I'm on borrowed time. We're going to make it through this football season doing the morning show. I want to do more of them. We need more members of the channel to make that happen. So as little as 99 cents a month, all the way up to $10 a month. We appreciate the support, and it's just a tip in the old tip jar. If you like what we do, hit that join button down below. Also, you can pick up the merchandise. Go to bonfire.com/store/Talkin VAWLS. I made it known last night. The limited edition Buck Fama shirt is going to be gone forever the Saturday of the Alabama game. So you've got about a little less than 2 weeks to go pick up that shirt or any of the other shirts. We appreciate all the support. Shout out to Gabriel for jumping on here, being my wingman on these Monday morning streams. I know you guys dig it. I see you guys in the chat. If you're watching the replay, leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. Do you like having Gabriel on the show? I think he does a good job, adds a lot to this channel. But that is going to wrap it up for this one. He's Gabriel. He's G-Daddy. He's G-Money. He's Dauber's son. You guys put the nicknames for Gabriel in the comment section, not the chat. Come back afterwards, leave a comment with Gabriel's new nickname. Rolly Season sending us out of here with a $2 super chat. Have a blessed day, guys. See you, Boogie and Gabe. Thank you, Rolly. We appreciate it. That's going to do it. He is Gabriel. My name's Boogie Bentley. Go Big Orange.
That we call